welcome all ladies and gentlemen, researchers and scholars in our today's seminar regarding Pakistan's groundwater crisis, policy lessons, and a framework for sustainable resource use. We all know water is a very important topic, very important issue. We are always discussing that Pakistan is moving toward from water stressed nation to water scarce nation. Water availability per capita is decreasing. We often present numbers and data and arguments that we have more than 5,000 cubic meter water in 50s, 60s per capita available. But now it has reduced from less than 1,000 cubic meter. So water is very important for Pakistan because water is necessary for agriculture. Agriculture is necessary for our food security. Water is also essential for humans because of whole civilization is moving around the water and water use. And you all know that civilizations developed, progressed, and evolved near the water sources. So water always remained very important. And now the reducing of water availability also making it important. Climate change is also adding some pressure in sustainable water use and other things, that evapotranspiration rates are increasing. But in this all discussion and all scenarios, all water related matters, we often ignore one important aspect, that is the groundwater use in Pakistan. And we are over extracting our groundwater use, but we don't know how much groundwater we have, how this groundwater stress has increased. So this time we invite Mr. Nazam Maqbool. He has a long experience in this field, more than 20 years of experience. He is a social scientist. He also worked in many renowned research centers. Mehboob Research Center is one of them. I also worked for very important works like human development reports for South Asia and many other things you all are very familiar. He is the person who have dedicated his whole life to the water. He worked in many different dimensions of water, and today we are having honor and privilege to know about what is the groundwater status, what are the challenges associated with groundwater usage and other things, and how we can solve problems associated with the groundwater densities. So please, Mr. Nazam, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. I'm really grateful to the esteemed Vice Chancellor, Dean Policy, and the PIDE Seminar Committee providing me this opportunity to present my work on this area. The title of my presentation is Pakistan's Groundwater Crisis, Policy Lessons and a Framework for Sustainable Research. This is a simple outline of my presentation. I prepared these points so that I can take you all along with me during the presentation. Initially, I would present the objective research questions, background of this work. Then I would present a summary of the overall Pakistan's water source profile. Then we shall talk about groundwater history. And then the second main component would be the key challenges of groundwater in Pakistan. And then the last section, which would be the main contribution of this work, would be 7-pillar action-oriented framework for groundwater sustainability. Just before starting this presentation formally, I would like to say that I'm not going to see this topic just as a groundwater. My approach would be to see things in a macro perspective, just like in macroeconometric model. You see all sectors, all stakeholders, and then you see where the solution lies. For me, yes, Pakistan has the water crisis, but to me, based on my work that I've done so far, to me, the solution lies in sustainable management of groundwater for Pakistan. The main research question is, how can Pakistan achieve sustainable groundwater use through institutional policy and technological reforms? There are three main objectives of this work: to assess the scale and drivers of groundwater crisis or depletion, whatever you say, Second objective is to evaluate main institutional and policy gaps in Pakistan. And then the third and the last objective would be to propose an action-oriented framework to address this crisis. Just a research methodology that what was my approach to address this topic. Initially, I defined my research topic. I started work on this topic about 1.5 years back on the instructions of that time's management of PIDE. After identifying such questions, I prepared and identified main data sources. Main data sources were secondary sources, but I also got the opportunity to talk and to read work of various experts like Dr. Hassan Abbas, Dr. Fazilda Nabil, Professor Danish Mustafa from King's College London, and so many others, and Dr. Pervez Amir too. Background and context, you all know that Pakistan is an arid to semi-arid country. It means that you have less of rainwater. It means you have less of surface water. That implies that groundwater is crucial for all of your sectors, whether it's industry, agriculture, or services, or individuals. Extraction of groundwater in the country exceeds recharge, especially in the provinces of Punjab and Balochistan, and there are technical reasons behind that. In Sindh, it's not feasible to extract groundwater. Around 80% of the groundwater is saline there. And in KP, it's not technically feasible to dig wells. Then there are quality degradation due to salinity, arsenic, and industrial pollution. Overall, if you see, I've given the map of basins of all the countries in the world. So this map shows by NASA that Indus Basin aquifer is the second most overstressed basin in the world. This is the overall Pakistan's water source profile. As I mentioned in the previous slide, that Pakistan is an arid country. So average annual rainfall is 494 millimeter. If you see this table on the right bottom, given a comparison of a number for Pakistan with India and Bangladesh for better understanding. This 494 millimeter average annual rainfall is less than one half of the average number in India. And similarly in Bangladesh, you can see that for Bangladesh, this number is huge. Our whole water system depends on Indus River system. Indus River system contributes over 95% in the whole water availability in the country. And our whole, if you see the whole water system in the country, over 80% of it comes from outside Pakistan, either from India or from Afghanistan. That ratio is quite less for other two countries, India and Bangladesh. Then per capita water availability, you can see from the top right graph that average water availability in the country, although it's not very representative indicator, but we have to talk about it because we have data about it. Average per capita water availability has decreased from over 5,000 in 1947 to around 800 now. Groundwater extraction is around 65 cubic kilometers, which is around 10 million cubic kilometers of recharge, which shows a huge growing deficit. If you see right now in the country, around 1.5 million unregulated tubes are extracting groundwater. Here I've given overall a picture of Pakistan's water sector overview. In the start, you can see that glaciers, monsoon rain, and groundwater are the main sources. Then I've given the numbers for flows, then usage. As you all know that over 90% of this whole water in the country is being used in agriculture. And according to experts like Dr. Hassan Abbas, you can reduce that consumption by almost 10 times. So in agriculture, you're using 10 times more water than the international standards. Then water availability, I already talked about that. Then you can see the system overall. You have 3 large dams, 85 small dams, and then I've talked about issues that I'll discuss in detail in the coming slides. Groundwater sources and use. I've given key facts. Surprisingly, Pakistan has the fourth largest aquifer in the world. And if you want to talk about its size, it's around 88,000 square kilometer of fresh groundwater that you have in your country. And if you want to translate that into numbers, it's around 400 million acre feet storage. And if you want to see that in another way, so it's 80 times if you combine all the storage capacity of all three large dams of the country, then this capacity is 80 times of that. Then another interesting thing is that although you have water crisis, but your groundwater dependent exports, they account around 30% of global exports. Rice, textiles, and leather are linked with these exports. Irrigation reliance has increased from mere 8% to over 60% today. Similar trend you can see in other two sectors of the economy, industry and drinking water. In Punjab, you can see there's overuse due to abundance of groundwater in that region. In Sindh, due to poor quality, you have lower usage. In Balochistan, you have the scarce of this water. So this graph shows that in terms of usage, you're also the fourth largest user of groundwater in the world. You're extracting 65 cubic million acre feet of water, and out of this, 94% is being used in the agriculture sector. Historical development from 1870 to 1930, during the British era, you had huge network of canals in our region, these four provinces. So as a result, water level went up. To address that problem, you initiated the program in the 60s called Salinity Control and Reclamation Project, under which around 17,000 tubewells were installed to address the issue of waterlogging. Later on, those tubewells were privatized. They were handed over to farmers. From 70s to 80s, during the Bhutto era, again, the government subsidized electricity, and then again you saw around 2.5 times boost in number of tubewells in the country. Then in 1996 to 2001, there was drought. And again, the government introduced subsidies, and then you again saw a massive increase in tubewells due to subsidies. And in 2024, I've just mentioned that right now you have 1.5 million tubewells in the country, which are extracting around 60 million acre feet of water. No, coming to the second part of the presentation. So though there are several challenges, but to me, 4 are more important: policy and regulatory gaps, groundwater quality concerns, institutional, fiscal, and administrative challenges, and then infrastructural gaps. No, I will talk about them one by one. Coming to policy and regulatory gaps, surprisingly, you don't have any national groundwater law in the country. One more point that I would talk here just before mentioning these points. You had Indus Water Treaty in the 60s, under which 3 rivers were handed over to India, 3 rivers were handed over to Pakistan. So you have fixed supply of water that you can get out of that. There's propaganda in the newspapers, but I don't have time to talk about those things in detail. You have fixed supply. The 3 rivers that were handed over to you, so the water from those rivers is not going anywhere. So surface water is fixed, you can't do with that. It's coming in your system. What you can do is with the groundwater. And surprisingly, till today, you have formulated laws, legislations, and all those things about surface water. No one has ever talked about groundwater in the way that they should have talked. So coming to back to this policy and regulatory gaps, policy weaknesses. So you don't have any groundwater law. In Punjab and KP, you have water acts, but as usual, their implementation is poor. They are, by the way, overall water laws, not groundwater laws. So then, as I just mentioned that historically, the focus of laws have been on surface water. Then agriculture subsidies, as I mentioned in the start, that they were provided to farmers. So as a result, you saw overuse of groundwater. Regarding regulatory deficiencies, again, you can see huge number of tube wells in the country. And if you see this graph, out of 1.5 million tube wells, 79% are in Punjab, 15% in Sindh, 5% in Balochistan, and 1% in KP. And I've already mentioned the reason behind this huge number, that in Punjab, it's easy to access groundwater. In Sindh, 80% of the groundwater is not feasible to be used. In Balochistan, you have scarce groundwater, limited. In KP, it's not technically feasible to dig wells to extract groundwater. And then surprisingly, as I mentioned, that around 93% of total water is being used in agriculture. And if you see as an economist, 85% of that water is being used for 4 crops, which are contributing less than 5% of GDP. And it's technically feasible to reduce the consumption of water being used in agriculture by 10 times. Now, coming to groundwater quality concerns, I think there was a lot of discussion last week in the presentation by PCRWR and the Dean research. You can see from this map, I think red dots are visible. You can see in Punjab and then in Sindh, the presence of arsenic in water, which is disaster for human health. Then I've mentioned the main contaminants, which are arsenic, nitrates, salinity, fluoride, pathogens, and heavy metals, which have been found in water samples of the country. Then in the second column, you can see sources, which are like fertilizer, sewage, overpumping, and so on. And then the main health risks are mentioned in the next column, like cancer, skin diseases, malnutrition is also linked with it. Dr. Ghazala Mansouri has also linked the polio prevalence with sanitation too, by the way. Then in the second last column, we mentioned affected areas. For instance, arsenic is prevalent in Punjab and Sindh, and you can see the main areas in the map. Dark yellow shows the second level of risky areas. Light yellow shows the third level of risky areas, and green shows safe areas. Institutional, fiscal, and administrative challenges are the third level of challenges that we are having to address groundwater crisis in the country. Here, I was talking to Dr. Faisal that there's immense, just like all government organizations in the country, you can see there are numerous organizations, WASAs to manage drinking water in cities, irrigation departments, and PCRWR to address the issue of water quality, then environmental protection agencies. So there are numerous organizations, though their focus is on surface water, but there's lack of coordination. And the things has been worsened after 18th Amendment. After 18th Amendment, you have transferred this role to provinces to manage this water, but first, their capacity is weak. Second, there's no coordination at horizontal level and also at vertical level. Vertical level means provinces to federal. Then you have very poor monitoring of rural water withdrawals. That's why you can see huge number of tube wells in your agriculture sector. Regarding fiscal constraints, only 24% of operating and managerial costs are being recovered. And 60% of Abiana is being recovered, although its rate is already very low. I've given the number in the bottom that despite substantial tariff hikes, after no change of decades, water tariffs in Punjab and Islamabad, they have been increased in cities right now, but still their level is $0.12 per cubic meter. And if you compare this number with 2.36 for the average value of the bird, you can see the drastic difference. Then electricity subsidies are promoting overpumping. You can see this thing in Balochistan even right now, that the water is like a gold there, but even then, you can see that all those areas which were producing fruits like apple, so they have used already the existing water to grow wheat and such crops, and water has ended or has been reduced. Then you have limited investment in recharge and drainage system. The fourth and the last challenge is infrastructural gaps. You have limited monitoring networks and detailed data systems. And due to lack of provision of exact data about both at static level and also in real sense. Since you don't have data, you don't have information about the groundwater at micro level, so you can't have evidence-based planning and policy making for the sector. Then poor wastewater treatment and drainage. You can see that only 1% of water overall in Pakistan is being treated, and in cities it is 8%. Drainage system is pathetic, and you can all see from the recent floods that already have happened in Pakistan. So you saw the impact of this poor drainage in cities, especially in Karachi. Then you have the problems of salinity and waterlogging. As a result, 4.5 million hectares have been affected, mostly in Punjab and in Sindh. And then you have no rainwater harvestings. And then you have the problem of seawater intrusion. I'm sure you must have seen videos last few weeks that people in Sindh, everyone is sad in the country, but people in Delta, they are happy that thank God water has come. Now it will take push seawater back to put it on its original place. Now, the main contribution is this third part of the presentation that here we have provided a 7-point action-oriented framework to transform this crisis into an opportunity, and not only to address this groundwater, but if you follow this pattern, you can address your whole water problem. First one is governance and institutional reform. So I've gone for all these 7 areas in the same style. Initially, I mentioned the key actions, then the lead actors who will be responsible to take this action, and then the timeline that you can implement this thing in 1 year or in 2 years and in 3 years. And then the global best practice that you can follow for that key initiative. For instance, here in governance and institutional reform, I talked that you need institutional reform. For that, you need to establish a national groundwater council. It has to be on the pattern of India's central groundwater water authority. What India's authority do, they create a coordination among all organizations, both at horizontal level and as well as at vertical level. Then you need to have legal reforms. For that, you have to introduce provincial laws for licensing, metering, and pricing of water. For this, you can follow the example of California's Groundwater Act, and then Jordan's water bylaws, that they have introduced laws through which they have introduced these reforms. Then if you see historically, Pakistan had a colonial legacy. It means that in your home, you belong to all the water that exists under your home. You can dig a tube well, you can dig a motor pump. So it should not happen. What they have done in Australia, they have introduced reforms, and they have de-linked both these things. So you have to take permission from the government if you want to dig water out. And then also your permission is linked whether how much water is there. If it's a water scarcity area, then you can't get water from there. Then it has also to be linked with pricing. And then you can also develop water market based on this reform. On demand side, you have to phase out electricity subsidies. And you can link that with some incentive system that may promote efficient use of water. Coming to the second point, science, data, and monitoring. You need to conduct comprehensive national aquifer mapping to map underground water so that you know exactly the information about water beneath in real time. Here you can follow the pattern of Australia's national aquifer framework. Then the second point is also linked with it, that you have to also develop real-time monitoring and data portal, which should be accessible to all, and policies should be linked with that. Then you have to establish an interagency coordination group at provincial level and at federal level to see that whatever data is collected is harmonized. You get from by following the standardized method, and you can also aggregate it at provincial level, then at national level. Then you have to foster capacity building and training programs to train your manpower so that they can also understand. Right now, I've read and talked to Dr. Hassan Abbas's view is that in your water sector, you can see that most of the engineers, they are employed in the sector who see things but in their own aspect. What you need to do, you need to have hydrologists, you need to have economists, then you need to have anthropologists, and then you need to have people from all other areas, lawyers too, so that you can see things in a broader perspective. For instance, we have to send people to talk about Indus Water Treaty. So how can an engineer talk about that if he doesn't have the legal point of view? Similarly, if you want to talk to India about the division of water under Indus Water Treaty, then you have to take hydrologists who knows exactly the land pattern, that is it feasible to build dams? Is it feasible to transfer, to move water from one place to another? Because it's not easy. Then the third point is agricultural efficiency. I would just add one point here that just a couple of years back, President of America, so he constituted a high-level task force, which was comprised the top experts from all these fields that I've just mentioned. And they were requested to prepare a comprehensive guideline to address groundwater crisis of America. And they were told to build situational analysis, and then what are the key problems, and then how these problems can be addressed, and then to provide success stories. So the idea is just so that you can understand the importance of this topic. Then agriculture efficiency, as I already mentioned, that 93% of the total water is being used in agriculture, and which is totally inefficient. So here, what you need is you have to replace subsidies with performance-based incentives. For instance, productivity. Then you have to support efficient irrigation techniques like drip and sprinkle in irrigation, so that you can reduce the consumption of water. Then what you have to do, just like what Bangladesh and even Andhra Pradesh in India, they have done, rather than, I don't know why do you cultivate sugar. I'm sure you all know that in America, they have banned the cultivation of sugar. In Saudi Arabia, you can't cultivate that. But you don't have water to drink, and you're putting the whole water in rice and sugar. So you have to shift from these water incentive crops to low water intensive, high productivity crops like pulses, oil seeds, or such vegetables. Then you have to establish groundwater protection zones in water scarcity areas. Then regarding solar, Abidullah Saab just mentioned today on his social media that due to solar, you can see huge number of tubes in the country. So you can move to that, but then you again have to follow certain norms for that. I've just mentioned that a few cities, these are not suggestions in the air. Practically, things have been done. In several cities of US, they have used, decreased the use of water in their constituencies by improving the efficiency of water. For instance, in St. Paul, water use has been cut by third in 35 years. Similarly, in some areas, it has been cut by half. Then integrated water management recharge. Integrated water management means that you can't see things in silos. You have to see in a macro perspective, just like you build macro models. So integrated water management means that you can't control surface water alone, you can't control groundwater alone, you can't control drinking water alone, you can't control sanitation alone. You have to take all these sectors and all these sources collectively, and then you have to address these issues. And then you have to see your intervention and then the impact, direct impacts and indirect impacts. Here, You have to use integrated water management and recharge, and then you can't apply these solutions in general. You have to see the nature of the aquifer. For instance, in central Punjab and in southern Punjab, the nature of the groundwater aquifer is different. In Sindh, it's different. In KP, it's different. In Balochistan, it's different. So in water-stressed areas like Balochistan, you need to have managed aquifer recharge initiatives. What would that do? That will be based on the utilization of flood water and treated wastewater. Then in canal command areas where you have excessive surface water and also groundwater, like in central Punjab, you have to follow conjunctive use strategies. Conjunctive use mean that you have to follow a mixed use of both surface and groundwater. You should not do that if there is already abundance of groundwater in some area and you're also supplying canal water on minimum price. And then in saline water areas like in Sindh, you have to reduce canal seepage. And then you also have to address the issue of water conveyance. Water conveyance mean the mechanism through which you move water from canal to the farm. So you waste around 1/3 of the water in this process. So you have to improve that in Sindh. And in cities and urban areas, what you have to do, you have to follow rainwater harvesting, and then you have to reform your bylaws, which will allow you for vertical construction and also the control of urban sprawl. Here I've just mentioned, if you see in the bottom, that the people, all those people who say that it's very difficult to address these problems. In Israel, though you can't compare Israel with Pakistan because geographically that's very small region, but in Israel around 70% is desert, but they don't have water crisis. I don't have time to go in detail to talk about this thing. What they have done, they have achieved water security by reusing around 90% of its collected and treated wastewater, meeting 25% of its water demand. It has also been done in Singapore too. Then pricing and subsidy reform. Here you have to follow tiered Abhyana pricing. Again, here tiered mean in layers, just like you talk about progressive taxation in economics, that you can't have fixed rates of pricing. Abhyana, by the way, we use it is pricing, but for agriculture. So in water abundance areas, you have to follow a different approach. In water saline areas, you have to follow a different approach. Then you have to empower in irrigation department. The money that you get out of this tiered Abhyana pricing, so you have to empower your relevant departments so that they can spend that collected amount to improve the infrastructure in their constituencies. Then you have to link these conservation and efficiency improvement reforms with performance-based transfers through initiatives like NFC award. For instance, you can tell Balochistan are saying that you can have higher share in NFC if you use your water efficiency and water conservation in your areas. Then you have to reform urban water tariffs that I just mentioned in the start, that though urban water prices has been increased significantly over the last couple of years, but still it's very low compared to the global average. So you have to make it compatible and market oriented to control the inefficient use of water. You can create slabs. There's discussion that how can you put price? You can't live without water, so how can you put price on this thing? But you can have slabs, but you can't allow people to use this water unlimited. For instance, if there's someone is washing car by using thousands of liters of water, so how can you allow that person? Then today I read that Asian Development Bank has released huge amount of money to around 9 to 10 countries, including Pakistan, to address glacier lake outburst floods related climate adaptation. So you can submit your proposals at international platforms to raise funding to address issue of climate adaptation. things have been done in Mexico and South Africa. So coming to the second last, transboundary water, you are not, you're not a landlocked country. You have borders with India, and then you have border with Afghanistan. So you're downstream for both these countries. As I mentioned in the start, that over 70% of your water is coming from those countries into your country. And similarly, your groundwater basin from in Punjab, so it is joint, it is shared. So if there is stress on their side, then obviously you're downstream, so it affects you too. The same case applies in Afghanistan too. So you have to integrate groundwater into the industry treaty. Right now in industry water treaty, there's no mention of this thing. So you have to, if there's opportunity, you have to talk about these things. Then there are around 3 Ganda nalas which are coming from India to Pakistan, huge nalas. So they're throwing all the water to your country, which is going all a long way to sea. So it is also impacting groundwater. So you need to integrate this issue in Indus Water Treaty. Then you can see that how can you conduct studies on it. Then the last one, human capital and awareness. Obviously, you need to have very detailed and comprehensive research on this topic to provide guidelines to your policymakers. What you can do, you can launch a groundwater fellowship program, just like mini RASTA, so to promote research, evidence-based research on this topic. And then you can integrate groundwater awareness into school curriculum. Then you can also have public campaigns, like in Ethiopia, they use the slogan, "My water, my life," to create awareness. Then you can provide training to farmers and local governments to address this issue. So in Andhra Pradesh, India, they have done this thing. Now, coming to the conclusion, groundwater crisis requires systemic reform. It means you can't address this issue in isolation. You have to address this issue in a comprehensive way. Immediately, these are summary points that I've already talked. What you need to do immediately, you need to establish a National Groundwater Council to create coordination among all relevant organizations. Then you have to implement monitoring and recharge programs. And then you have to improve irrigation efficiency and pricing reform. In long term, your objective should be inclusive, climate resilient, and evidence-based water governance in the country behind the aim to address this problem. A coordinated national effort can secure Pakistan's water future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for such an insightful, thought-provoking, and engaging presentation. I'm just switching the language to keep it more engaging. कि इशू पे बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब ग्राउंड वाटर के हवाले से हम बहुत कुछ नहीं जानते थे, जो आज की प्रेजेंटेशन से हमें वो जानने को मिल रहा है कि पाकिस्तान की सिचुएशन क्या है। अच्छा, एक तो ये 3-4 चीज़ें अगर मैं समराइज करूं कि आई पिक फ्रॉम दिस ऑल दिस डिस्कशन दैट वी नीड टू फोकस ऑन प्राइसिंग, we need to focus on efficiency, and we need to focus on recharging our groundwater. Or the fourth issue is the transboundary efficiency. So we have to focus on 4 major or main areas while managing groundwater or water in Pakistan. ठीक है। अब एग्रीकल्चर में जब हम इस चीज़ की बात करते हैं तो एफिशिएंसी की ये बड़ी सेंसिटिव बात हो जाती है, क्योंकि इसमें बड़ी पॉलिटिक्स भी इन्वॉल्व है। हमारे लार्जर फार्मर्स की जो कम्युनिटी है वो स्मॉल फार्मर्स है। रिसेंट सेंसस हमें ये बता रहा है कि जो नंबर 64% लेस देन 5 एकड़ से था वो 70% पे चला गया है। लेस देन 12.5 एकड़ वाला 89 से 97% पे चला गया है। तो जब हम उनकी इकोनॉमी की कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन की बात करते हैं, दे आर मिनिमाइजिंग देयर कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन टू मैक्सिमाइज देयर बेनिफिट्स और मैक्सिमाइज देयर प्रॉफिट। तो उस सारे सिनेरियो में वाटर जो है वो उनके लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। वाटर की कॉस्ट भी बढ़ रही थी, क्योंकि सबसे पहले जब हिस्टोरिकली इलेक्ट्रिक ट्यूबवेल आए, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की कॉस्ट बढ़ गई, उनके लिए मुश्किल हो गई। फिर उसके बाद फ्यूल की कॉस्ट बढ़ गई, तो वो भी उनके लिए कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी हो गई। अब सोलर ने उन्हें ये एक सहूलत जो है वो फराहम कर दी कि उनके लिए जो है वो लीस्ट कॉस्ट वाटर जो है ना, वो ग्राउंड वाटर को उसको एक्सट्रैक्ट करना जो है वो अवेलेबल है, और वहाँ से अपनी कॉस्ट मिनिमाइज कर सकते हैं, बेनिफिट्स मैक्सिमाइज कर सकते हैं। अब इस सारे सिनेरियो में 2 चीज़ें हमेशा से पेश की जाती हैं कि एक टेक्नोलॉजिकल सोल्यूशन है, उसकी इंटीग्रेशन इंतहाई मुश्किल हमें नज़र आती है, गिवन कि पाकिस्तान का जो फार्मिंग की नेचर है वो एक तो वो स्मॉल फार्मर है, सेकंड उनकी इकोनॉमिक स्पेस या फिजिकल स्पेस बड़ी लिमिटेड है। तो और तीसरी चीज़ ये है कि बिहेवियरल और एजुकेशन के इश्यूज हैं जो वो उस एफिशिएंसी की तरफ शिफ्ट करने के रास्ते में रुकावट बन रहे हैं। थर्ड ये है कि जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव साइड से है वो फ्लैट रेट है, कोई कॉस्ट ही नहीं है उसकी ओवर एक्सट्रैक्शन के ऊपर। अब इस सारे सिनेरियो को देखते हुए इस एफिशिएंसी को जो है हम किस तरह से इन्हांस कर सकते हैं एग्रीकल्चर में यूज़ के हवाले से। और इसके बाद देखिए एक्वाफर मैपिंग की आपने बात की, ये बड़ा मतलब टेक्निकल और सेंसिटिव एरिया है। अब इसमें बहुत सारे कंसर्न्स हैं, हम उसके डीप नहीं जा रहे। आज से ये ज़रूर जानना चाहेंगे कि ये एक्वाफर मैपिंग में को किस तरह से पाकिस्तान ज़्यादा इम्प्रूव कर सकता है, या डाटा किस तरह से सिक्योर जो है वो हमारे पास आ सकता है, इस पे क्या चैलेंजेस हैं। सेकंड, इसके अंदर टेक्नोलॉजी की इंटीग्रेशन हुई है बड़ी तेज़ी से, एआई की इंटीग्रेशन हुई है, सैटेलाइट्स बेस्ड जो है वो डाटा आना शुरू हुआ है। इससे किस तरह से हम मैक्सिमम बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं, या इसको किस तरह से इंटीग्रेट किया जा सकता है इस प्लानिंग प्रोसेस के अंदर।
Obviously, you're right, Dr. Faisal, that you have small farmers, but you also have to see that all the subsidies that you're providing and all the excess water that you're providing, who is benefiting out of that mostly? So these are constraints, but obviously you have to go very carefully. You may have some slabs that you can use groundwater by using solar up to a certain extent, but you can't do things unlimited, number one. Number two is, I think, you have to move towards high value crops. If you motivate someone and if you convince someone that if you follow that approach, because things don't happen just by preaching, you have to incentivize someone that if you will do that thing, then it is going to benefit you. Only then that person will do. Otherwise, they can't do that. So in Bangladesh, I think you can see that geographically, you can see that Bangladesh geographically is, I think, one half of our current Punjab. And they are self-sufficient. They have 55 rivers in Bangladesh, which are coming from across the border. Out of that, 54 are coming from India alone. And if you see their data, till 90s, huge amount of their crops, they were losing those in floods. But right now, they are not doing that thing. So you have to adapt with the passage of time, and then you have to create incentive for others that if you follow this thing, it will benefit you. And it will benefit your future generations through. Number one. Number two, regarding aquifer mapping, I think you've already responded that you can use latest technologies and then you can use satellite maps for these things. NASA is already doing so much. So if you're doing so many things by using Chinese satellite, you can also request them to train you for these things slightly.
Why there is no updated water policy? What is the constraint in developing the new updated water policy in government sectors?
You're not happy that at least it came in 2018 for the first time, and then you're expecting another one. Can we have more questions? I think then we can have 3 to 4 questions.
जी सर, मेरा सवाल ये है कि क्या पाकिस्तान के अंदर कोई वाटर ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट है, वेस्ट वाटर ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट, जैसे कि पंजाब के अंदर बहुत सारी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं जो अपना जंग आलूद पानी और दूसरा इंडस्ट्री से जो वाटर निकलता है, वेस्ट वाटर निकलता है, क्या उसको ट्रीटमेंट करने के लिए कोई प्लांट पाकिस्तान में मौजूद है? इस बारे में बताइए।
There are few in Punjab, you can see those. And Dr. Shan, I absolutely agree with you. To me, it was great that at least we had national water policy 2018 once. But to me, it's not useful given the current circumstances. You have climate change, you have floods, then you have water pollution, and then whatever you committed in that water policy. So those things were never implemented, those things were never executed. So I absolutely agree with you that you need to have a new water policy. And which should be very comprehensive and which should give equal weightage to both surface water as well as groundwater.
Yes.
And interestingly, in Israel, वो मेरा दिल करता है मैं बात करूं लेकिन टाइम नहीं है. In Israel, when Israel came into existence in the start, so their first prime minister, he instructed his subordinates that give me the list of all experts, water experts from our community. That list were provided to him. Then he said that just manage a meeting of mine with them. They managed a meeting. He invited them all. He told them that 70% of Israel is desert, and even in other areas you don't have water. And without water, there is no life. Whatever slogan, whatever ideology you have to give me the solution. Only then we can survive. They put single condition to the prime minister at that time. I'm talking about late 40s, not today. They said, Prime Minister, give us power. There will not be any political interference in appointments and in decisions and in the implementation of technical solutions. He said, okay, go ahead. What they did, they developed the technology, Dr. Faisal, and they got the water from sea. That was very expensive. People laughed at them at that time that they're so stupid. They fulfilled their needs by using that water, that expensive water. Later on, they developed the technology to have wastewater treatment plants. So they cleaned that water and they cleaned it in a way that it was being used in washrooms, in agriculture, and so on. And last time when I read, I studied that very soon they would be able to clean dirty water in a way that they would be able to be used for drinking purpose. So they started to use the water from their own cycle because they were meeting 90% of their needs from that treated wastewater. And their initial sunk cost, what they did, whatever water they were producing from sea, they started to export that to the Arab. So they're earning dollar out of that thing. And a few years back, an American journalist, he went to Israel and he spent 1.5 years there. He said, we have so much water in our country, rivers, streams, and we are crying all the time that we have groundwater crisis, we have surface water crisis. Israel doesn't have that, though they are desert. So he did research there, and then he wrote this thing that I've just mentioned to you. And his book was the best-selling book of that year, I think 2022 or 2023. And once their water minister came to Israel, and there was an interview in India, they asked same question. What will we do for poor?
Yes.
What will we, how
So
can
it
we
is more
convince them this and that? How can you count water? He said, you have to do all that.
Yes.
You need to have exact number of the quantity of water and the use of water. First, try to have those numbers. Later on, you can give relaxation to whoever you want.
This is more of a
Any other
management or
question?
policy side issue or
Sir, I'm basically from Quetta. और क्वेटा में जो सर वाटर स्कार्सिटी का हम सुन रहे हैं मतलब the last report which I read was in 2000 where the water level was almost 1500 feet availability, but that number reduced from 1500 to 500 now, I guess. तो सर ये पिछले टाइम से हम यही मतलब सेम सुनते आ रहे हैं कि वाटर स्कार्सिटी हो रही है और वाटर जो टेबल है हमारा वो डिक्लाइन होता जा रहा है. तो इसके रिलेटेड बलूचिस्तान में स्पेशली कोई भी ना हमने कोई पॉलिसी इस पे आई है और ना ही कोई ऐसा प्लान आया है जो इस चीज़ को डील कर सके. तो फेडरल गवर्नमेंट के पास इस चीज़ का कोई ऐसा प्लान है ऐसी कोई स्ट्रेटजी टू.
देखिए बलूचिस्तान का जहाँ तक ताल्लुक है ना, I also had the opportunity to visit Quetta a number of times. We also have a discussion there with water experts, and we talk about energy as well as water things. You need to understand that in groundwater, you have two types of water. One is the type which can be renewed, and one is the type which can't be renewed. So in Punjab or in certain areas of Pakistan, so you have water that can be renewed. Renewed means that you have rains and then again water goes down. Or you have rivers, you have canals, so the water goes down and the underground water is recharged. But in Quetta, like hard mountains, so you have precious water there. And there are certain pockets that if you dig water out, it will go away. And as I mentioned in the start that you can't apply the solution for all. There are region-specific solutions. For Balochistan, I think you have to follow their traditional solutions, like RAS system. These modern solutions, like to dig water by using tubes, is just killing them. And there's political economy there, so I don't think that the solution is so easy. So there are coalition governments, and then you incentivize people by providing subsidies on electricity and then on tubes. And then people, just like Dr. Faisal was talking, that small farmers, they always think very short, that if you can get water by using subsidized money, you can dig it out and then you can grow crop. And they don't know that you can have this 3, 4, 5 times. Then after that, water will go away and you will lose even your apple, your grapes and all that. This is unfortunately happening there. So, but they need to do, I think they need to have their local solutions. They have to regulate that, and then they need to put some constraint, some price on that. Because in Balochistan, you can't let people get water and groundwater in uncontrolled way.
Nazam Maqbool, I must say it was really informative and illuminating presentation. मेरा एक कमेंट कह लें या एक अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए जस्ट वांटेड टू आस्क यू कि आपने कहा कि सिंध में जो है वो 16% यूजेबल
80%
18% यूजेबल जो क्वालिटी का वाटर
20% आ रहा है ना
20% है। तो बाकी जो जीबी है उसकी क्या है, उसके पास डू वी हैव डेटा ऑन जीबी के उसका क्या है यूजेबल जो वाटर है क्वालिटी। और दूसरा जो वहाँ की ग्राउंड वाटर जो है स्टेटस है वो क्या है, उस पर अगर थोड़ा बता दें।
उसमें सर मैं एक छोटी सी बात करूंगा कि एक स्टूडेंट जाता है, ही वेंट टू द यूएस, वो मेरी तरह का होगा, कोई ये बच्चों की तरह का हो गया, वहाँ एडमिशन हो गया, ही वाज थर्स्टी, ही वांटेड टू ड्रिंक वाटर, तो ही स्टार्टेड टू सर्च वाटर, यार कोई फिल्टर शेड, आदत हमें तो यही पड़ी हुई है, वाटर कूलर पाइप का है, वो भी डर के ही पी रहे होते हैं। तो उसने पानी ढूंढना शुरू कर दिया एंड ही कुडंट फाइंड इट, he couldn't find it. Then he asked someone that I want to drink water. मैडम भी देख रही हैं। तो he asked someone that I want to drink water. तो उसको किसी ने कहा कि वो सामने टैब लगे हुए हैं, वाटर टैब, you can drink from anywhere. तो वो कहता है कि मैं इससे पहले के पीता, मेरी I had tears in my eyes. ये भी दुनिया है। तो हमारा तो सर ऐसे ही है कि जो वाटर लेवल है, जो PCR WR का जो डेटा है, जो 4 प्रोविंसेस का जो है, वो तो सर वो अराउंड 80% सैंपल जो है वो पोल्यूटेड है, उसमें कुछ ना कुछ है। जीबी का कुछ उन्होंने किया तो है, बट राइट नो वो मेरे जहन में नहीं आ रहा, इसलिए आई वांट से कि वो उसका वाटर क्वालिटी का क्या लेवल है। बाकी वाटर की तो ओवरऑल वहाँ पे अबंडेंस है, लेकिन वहाँ भी कुछ एरियाज में जहाँ पे ग्राउंड वाटर को यूज़ किया जा रहा है, वहाँ पे लेवल के डिक्लाइन का सैटेलाइट डेटा जो है वो ट्रेंड शो करता है।
चलिए, दो चीज़ें तो बड़ी वाज़ेह हो जाती हैं कि एक तो ये कि हमारी पॉलिसीज़ को क्लाइमेट लेंस से देखने की ज़रूरत है। जो जितनी भी पॉलिसीज़ हैं जो अभी तक बनी वो क्लाइमेट लेंस से नहीं बनी। सेकेंडली जो है वो इंडिजनाइज्ड और लोकलाइज्ड सॉल्यूशंस जो है वो उनको प्रायोरिटी पे लाने की ज़रूरत है, इसकी बजाय कि हम इम्पोर्टेड जो है वो सॉल्यूशंस उनकी तरफ देख रहे हों। अच्छा, रिचार्ज की आपने बात की थी ग्राउंड वाटर रिचार्ज के लिए स्पेशली देखिए, वी हैव ऑन अदर साइड वी हैव अबंडेंट ऑफ वाटर, वी हैव फ्लड्स, वी हैव though irregular rainfall patterns, but data is showing that we are having more than 18 to 32% monsoon rainfall. So ये इतनी बारिश, इतना पानी, अब सैलाबों की तादाद देखें, जो डेटा में बता रहा है 1980 से 2004 तक हमने 35 फ्लड इवेंट्स का सामना किया, 2004 से 2014 तक ये 35 हो गए, 1980 से 2004 तक 30 थे, 2014 से 2024 तक ये 44 हो गए, 70 मोर देन डबल हो गए नेक्स्ट 20 ईयर्स में जो फ्लड इवेंट्स हैं पाकिस्तान में। अब इतना पानी आ रहा है, तो इससे हम अपना ग्राउंड वाटर वो इतना रिचार्ज क्यों नहीं कर सके, कम से कम जो वो 10 क्यूबिक किलोमीटर का जो आप गैप बता रहे 65 से 55 के दरमियान में ना।
उसमें देखिए, मैंने ग्राफ मुझे था, मैं शो करवाऊं, वहां पे वो 1990 टिल टुडे एक था, वो बार चार्ट्स बने हुए थे, लाहौर का डेटा था, ग्रीन जोन, कवर्ड एरिया, और इस तरह जो 4-5 कैटेगरीज थी। तो उसमें जो ग्रीन जोन है उसमें सिग्निफिकेंट डिक्लाइन है। अभी जैसे लाहौर में अभी भी आप लोग देख रहे हैं, तो ये इट्स क्वाइट डिस्ट्रेसिंग। मैं जो पढ़ रहा था कि एक कोई अच्छा इन्वायरमेंट जहाँ पे आप ब्रीदिंग ले सकते हैं, जो हेल्दी इन्वायरमेंट है, उसके लिए यू नीड एटलीस्ट 25% फॉरेस्ट ऑन लैंड. इन पाकिस्तान ऑन एवरेज यू हैव लेस देन 5%. अच्छा, वो भी सारे का सारा जो सर बात कर रहे थे ऊपर है नॉर्दर्न एरियाज में. तो लाहौर में तो इट इज ऑल अर्बन. लाहौर में विलेज कोई नहीं है. तो दिस अर्बन स्प्रॉल स्प्रेड हो रहा है. वो जैसे बलोचिस्तान वाले भाई बात कर रहे थे, पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमी के इश्यूज हैं. यू सी योर शॉर्ट टर्म इंटरेस्ट, फिर रिसर्च होती नहीं है या रिसर्च में एग्जैक्टली सर एग्जैक्टली. अब वो सारा गली पहले कच्ची थी अब पक्की है, तो रेन इससे भी ज्यादा आ जाए वो तो ऊपर से गुजर जाएगा पानी. फिर बारिश का ये है कि रॉ भी है, अगर वो आपका जो सॉलिड नहीं है, जो स्ट्रीट वगैरह है, अगर वो ज्यादा प्रेशर से हो रही है रेन, इवन देन इट कांट एब्जॉर्ब दैट. नंबर 3 ये है कि जैसे आपसे भी बात हो रही थी, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट यू कांट प्ले विद नेचर. You have to follow it, and then you have to plan by using local solutions. और फिर फ्लड का भी जो आप बात कर रहे हैं, फ्लड का आप वो तभी तो बात है ना कि जब आप हाइड्रोलॉजिस्ट से आप बात करोगे, जो लैंड को नीचे से देखेगा, ऊपर से पैटर्न को देखेगा, और उसके मुताबिक आपको प्रोजेक्शंस करके देगा वाटर के फ्लो पे भी. ये जो फ्लड आया अभी, तो आप हैं ही फ्लड प्रोन एरिया. तो फ्लड तो हिस्टोरिकली टू मी इट्स नॉट ए बैड. ये जो अभी हम वाटर क्वालिटी की बात कर रहे हैं और सैनिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, या आप आए शेखपुरा से लाहौर तक का जो पैच है, तो वो तो शायद आप मतलब फेस भी नहीं वॉश कर सकोगे, इतना पोल्यूटेड हो सकता है इंडस्ट्रियल वाटर ग्राउंड वाटर में मिक्स होने की वजह से. तो जो फ्लड वाटर आता है तो वो तो वॉश करके ले जाता है उसको. आप उसके रास्ते में ना आओ, उसके रास्ते में शहर ना बनाओ, उसके रास्ते में विलेज ना बनाओ. फिर आप एक अच्छा जो है, आपकी पॉपुलेशन थी सर 7 करोड़ जब आपने ड्रेनेज सिस्टम डेवलप किया था, आज 25 करोड़ है. फिर वर्टिकल की हम बात कर रहे हैं, अब एक टू फ्लोर्स हैं, आप बात करते हो जो न्यूयॉर्क स्टाइल पे 100 फ्लोर्स हो, तो यू ऑल्सो हैव टू डेवलप योर ड्रेनेज सिस्टम ना. तो दैट्स व्हाई यू हैव टू follow a comprehensive and systemic approach, that you have to do good research, and you have to develop things on modern patterns, or you have to see things in a comprehensive manner. और लोकल सॉल्यूशंस को, रीजन स्पेसिफिक सॉल्यूशंस को आपने अडॉप्ट करना है, लोकल्स को इन्वॉल्व करना है. और फिर मुझे जो सक्सेस नजर आई वो कम्युनिटीज की है. जैसे क्वेटा की बात हो रही थी, आप कलाल चले जाओ, लसबेला चले जाओ, सही है. तो जैसे एक्स फाटा के जो रीजन्स थे, यहाँ पे बिलियन ट्री सुनामी जब वो लेके आए, तो उसकी सक्सेस के पीछे एक यही चीज थी. हमारी अपनी भी सक्सेस होती है, हम नहीं फॉलो करते. दैट दे इन्वॉल्व दोज कम्युनिटीज, दे टॉक टू देम, दे कन्विंस देम. आप कंसल्टेशन उनसे करते हो. यू नेवर टेक योर रेडीमेड कुक सोल्यूशन टू देम. कुछ बना भी लिया है, देन यू गो एंड टॉक टू देम. सही है. अब कारेज का वर्ड ही यूज नहीं करोगे, उसमें लिखा ही नहीं होगा, वो तो वो कहेंगे किधर से आ गए बस.
नहीं, इस साल थोड़ा सा अर्ली वार्निंग के सिस्टम ने भी काम किया. हम अपने लॉसेस को मिनिमाइज करने में काम है. $2.9 बिलियन के करीब इस दफा फ्लड से लॉसेस हुए हैं. इवैक्यूएशन अर्ली हो गई है, वो एफिशिएंटली जो अब मैनेज कर सकें इस चीज को.
नहीं, बट उसके रास्ते ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बेहतर करना है, और उसके रास्ते को क्लियर
डेफिनेटली लेट द रिवर फ्लो.
वो तो इस्लामाबाद में सर देख लें, नाला जो है उसका, आप इस दफा देखा आपने, आई थिंक त्रामड़ी चौक में, और लास्ट टाइम उसमें E11 में, तो वो उसके रास्ते में बनाओगे आप. तो वो थोड़ा सा तो चीजों को प्लान करना पड़ेगा. थोड़ा सा तो आज के यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर लिविंग इन 2025. सो यू हैव टू फॉलो मोस्ट रिसेंट थिंग. सर भी लिखते हैं उसमें.
तो नेचर बेस्ड सोल्यूशन जो है वो ज्यादा बेहतर है, लेस कॉस्टली है,
and involvement of local communities in your solutions, their endorsement.
डेफिनेटली.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर जो रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग टेक्निक है सर, इससे कोई इफेक्ट आता है जो ग्राउंड वाटर लेवल है? तो अगर कोई इफेक्ट आता है ज़्यादा तो गवर्नमेंट इस तरफ क्यों नहीं जाती, क्योंकि ये एक कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव वे है.
अगेन वही ये फिर बहुत बड़ी डिबेट चल पड़ेगी. यू गॉट इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी सर, सही है, उसकी हिस्ट्री है. मैं शायद नहीं उस तरह से पब्लिक सेक्टर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में बात कर सकता. You got dams, you got funding for all those things, and then you got executed all those things. Technically, if you could have talked to any hydrologists, they would never have allowed you to do all these things. So there are political economy factors, there are donor-driven initiatives, projects, lack of involvement of local people. तो उसमें ये है कि इंटरनेशनल बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं. तो सी अब रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग का मॉडल आप करते हो, क्या करते हो आप? सब आपने पक्का कर दिया और बड़े बड़े पक्के आप तालाब बनाते और उसमें रेन हार्वेस्ट का वाटर जा रहा है। ऐसे तो नहीं होता ना। तो उसमें ये होता है कि आप जब कॉलोनीज डेवलप कर रहे हो, रेजिडेंशियल एरियाज डेवलप कर रहे हो या कमर्शियल जोन्स डेवलप कर रहे हो, वहां पे जो नेचुरल ग्राउंड वाटर का रिजर्वायर है नीचे, तो आपने वो टेक्नोलॉजी लेके आनी है कि उसका लेवल मेंटेन रहे, उस वहां पे डिग आउट आपने चीजों को करना है।
वाटर सिंकिंग पार्क
तो वो लाहौर में है तो सही, बहुत सारी जगहों पे किया है। वो मॉल रोड पे मेरे ख्याल में लाइब्रेरी है जो जी। तो सर उसको सारे को पक्का कर दें और बड़े बड़े हाउस बना लें तो दैट्स नॉट सॉल्यूशन।
इसमें
ये
एक और
तो
चीज जिस पे
आप टर्म ठीक यूज कर रहे हैं बट उसका सोल्यूशन सही तरीके से नहीं आप एड्रेस कर रहे। इसमें यह है कि इंडिया में अगेन उनकी बात आ जाती है, उनकी सर थी नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी स्कीम थी। महात्मा गांधी भी उससे पहले लगता था। ये 2005, 6, 7 की, मैं 8 की बातें बता रहा हूँ। दे लॉन्च दिस ह्यूज एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी स्कीम। उसमें 100 डेज की वो जो लो पुअर होते थे, जैसे हमारा बिस्प है, तो उसमें सर ये 100 डेज की गारंटीड एम्प्लॉयमेंट देते थे। अब होता क्या था, जैसे PSDP है हमारा, पब्लिक सेक्टर डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम, तो वो डेवलपमेंट के इनिशिएटिव बनते थे नेशन वाइड। तो वो लोगों को हायर करके वहाँ पे उनको लगाते थे, कोई वाटर का पॉन्ड बनाना है, कोई सीवरेज सिस्टम बनाना है, कोई ड्रेनेज का सिस्टम बनाना है, या कोई कैनाल बनानी है, या कोई कारेज सिस्टम है उसको रिस्टोर करना है, जो नेचुरल वहाँ का सोल्यूशन है। तो एक मिनिमम उनको बेच देते थे, वो आई थिंक मुझे अब भूल गया कितनी थी। तो उसकी बेस पे उन्होंने इतनी ज़्यादा स्टेट्स में, जो आंध्र प्रदेश की मैं बार बार बात कर रहा था, तो वो उन्होंने वहाँ पे ये जो है उसको ग्राउंड वाटर के लेवल को बड़े जगहों पे जो है वो मेंटेन किया बाय यूजिंग द जो स्टैंडर्ड एक सोल्यूशन है।
नहीं, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग डिस्कशन चल रही है, इतनी इसकी इंटरेस्ट की जैसे हम 15 मिनट तक तकरीबन ऊपर जा चुके हैं। तो मतलब ये
तो
बहुत थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर प्रीशियस टाइम, वेरी इंसाइटफुल डिस्कशन। इतनी इंगेजिंग था कि हम 15 मिनट जो है वो अपने एलोकेटेड टाइम से ऊपर चले गए। और अभी मतलब ये और भी पॉइंट्स भी हैं, चीजें भी हैं जिनसे चीजों को और बढ़ाया जा सकता है। बहरहाल हमें अब यहीं पे खत्म करना होगा।
इंशाल्लाह we
वेरी
shall
वेरी थैंक यू
continue
फॉर
discussion in future too, and thank you very much to all those who came and who became part of this discussion.
थैंक यू
So it was very exciting for me too. Thank you very much.